Good morning. We are here this morning on the traditional land of the Matinecock people. I'm Reverend Jaye Brooks, and I minister to this congregation along with Reverend David Carl Olson and our lead minister, Reverend Dr. Natalie Fenimore. Our worship associates today are Rachel Zampino, Jim Peters, and joining us remotely from her home in Hampton, Virginia, Winterflower Regla Robinson. In this congregation, we seek to create loving religious community, encourage spiritual growth, and build a more just and joyful world. We gather each Sunday on site and online to restore the balance of our spirits, to celebrate the joys of life and find the strength to meet our sorrows. And in the earliest meaning of the word worship, to consider ideas that are worthy of our time and attention. Unitarian Universalism is a religious tradition that values diversity and embraces the wisdom of all faiths. We use science, reason, and the gifts of the Spirit to explore life's mystery and meaning. In this tradition, we know that people need not think alike to love alike. Visit our website or the welcome desk in the lobby to learn more about this loving religious community. And after the service, join us for coffee hour on Zoom or on site. And if you're on site, there are two exciting opportunities right after this service. In room 19, a session of inquirers for newcomers, which includes lunch. And there is an online version of that as well, but not the lunch. And in the social hall, lunch at the Sunday Cafe is available for a modest sum. If you're a visitor, lunch is on us. If you're joining us online, I guess you will have to make your own lunch. On the last Sunday of this month, you're invited to a congregation-wide small group experience, both on-site and online, to reflect on the VEACH program structure. Since the 1960s, this congregation has given substantial grants to nonprofit groups that serve good causes through what we call the VEACH program. It has been years since the congregation last considered the governance structure of this marvelous program. So on March 26th, at the behest of the Board of Trustees, there's an opportunity for meaningful conversation on this topic. And if governance structure of the VEACH program sounds a little dull, I promise you the topics for reflection will be very interesting and engage your attention. And we need everyone who can to participate. During this month of March, our learning and worship theme is vulnerability. Our topic this morning is healing, something I imagine that every one of us needs from time to time. Today also marks 3 years since the Sunday worship service on March 8th, 2020, the last worship service in this building before lockdown because of the pandemic. These past 3 years have brought loss and grief to many and have changed life for everyone. Things are not as they were. Nonetheless, members of this congregation have maintained connections, clarified their purpose, and planned for the future. Now, as always, let's center ourselves for worship and consideration of what is worthy by the lighting of our chalice.
Each Sunday, we light the candle of our religious heritage. We do this for our ancestors, who taught us through their various religious traditions and by their actions for justice and hope. We do this for our children, who are learning the traditions we teach and who learn from our actions more than our words. We do this for ourselves, so that we are inspired to remember our beginnings, reflect on who we are now, and spread our wings as we understand who we seek to become.
Before you know kindness as the deepest thing inside, you must know sorrow as the other deepest thing. You must wake up with sorrow. You must speak to it till your voice catches the thread of all sorrows and you see the size of the cloth. Then it is only kindness that makes sense anymore. Only kindness that ties your shoes and sends you out into the day to gaze at bread. Only kindness that raises his head from the crowd to say, "It is I you have been looking for." And then kindness goes with you everywhere, like a shadow or a friend. Now let's sing together hymn number 1021 in the Teal hymnal, "Lean on Me." Please rise as you are able and wear a mask to sing.
Please rise or remain seated if you're comfortable. And join in saying our words of affirmation. Love is the doctrine of this congregation. The quest for truth is its sacrament, and service is its prayer. To dwell together in peace, to seek knowledge in freedom, to serve human need, this do we affirm and covenant with each other. Now please put on your mask as we sing the Song of Affirmation. From all that dwell below the skies, let songs of faith and hope arise. Let peace, goodwill on earth be sung through every land, by every tongue.
To serve human need. Each Sunday, we take up a special collection to help a local nonprofit group that serves human need. This month, we're supporting the Roseville Community Garden. This garden gives community members and visitors of all ages, abilities, and backgrounds a quiet and enjoyable place to grow organic fruits, vegetables, and herbs. Gardeners learn about and share an appreciation for nature, for growing food, and for building relationships while helping the environment. The garden is also used as an outdoor classroom where community members, especially youth, learn about sustainable agricultural techniques, water conservation practices, and the nutritional benefits of food that they have helped to grow for their own consumption. For 2 years, members of this congregation have volunteered at the garden once a month from March through October. There's information in the lobby about becoming a volunteer. March is a time when plans are made for the upcoming season. Your donations will go towards supplies needed for a smooth running of the garden that nourishes our local community. Donate online or drop a contribution in the donations box in the lobby. Make checks payable to UUCSR and write Sunday in the memo line. These contributions help grow a healthier, more joyful community.
Consider the healing that is needed in our lives and in the world. May we be mindful of these needs. May we be mindful as well of the sources of healing that life offers to us as we take a moment now for silence, reflection, and prayer. In the words of the Buddhist teacher Thich Nhat Hanh, the beautiful sunset is not for you if you are not there. The blue sky is not for you if you are not there. And the multitude of wonderful, refreshing, and healing elements will not be for you if you are not there. The Buddha said that life is available only in the here and now, and your appointment with life is in the present moment. If you miss the present moment, you risk your appointment with life. So this teaching is very clear and also very simple. We should train ourselves to go home to the here and now, and touch deeply the life that is available in that moment. Everything we do, walking, sitting, breathing, eating, singing is an opportunity to touch what is healing in life. And now please remain seated. Put on your masks as we sing verse 2 of Comfort Me. We'll be singing a verse at occasional points during the service, and each time the words will appear on the screen, and simply remain seated and sing the verse. Verse 2. This morning we have two remarkable readings, poems written by Wendell Berry. The first is a prose poem called Damage, and the second a poem called Healing. These poems are of deep interest to me and have been. The healing poem has been for a long time. And in one of those serendipitous conversations that I had with our wonderful pianist, Nathaniel LaNasa, we realized that each of us loved and cherished this poem, Healing, by Wendell Berry. It's from his book, What Are People For?, as is the other one, Damage. It was Nathaniel who told me about the poem Damage. I didn't know that it existed. And we talked about, wouldn't it be wonderful to create a worship service with healing music and these two poems. So thanks to Nathaniel and the amazing talents of our musicians today, and to our intrepid worship associates, we present to you as something worthy to consider. First, the poem Damage by Wendell Berry.
I have a steep wooded hillside that I wanted to be able to pasture occasionally, but it had no permanent water supply. About halfway to the top of the slope, there is a narrow bench on which I thought I could make a small pond. I hired a man with a bulldozer to dig one. He cleared away the trees and then formed the pond, cutting into the hill on the upper side, piling the loosened dirt into a curving earthwork on the lower. The pond appeared to be a success. Before the bulldozer quit work, water had already begun to seep in. Soon there was enough to support a few head of stock. To heal the exposed ground, I fertilized it and sowed it with grass and clover. We had an extremely wet fall and winter, and with the usual freezing and thawing. The ground grew heavy with water and soft. The earthwork slumped. A large slice of the wood's floor on the upper side slipped down into the pond. The trouble was the familiar one. Too much power, too little knowledge. The fault was mine. I was careful to get expert advice, but this only exemplifies what I already knew. No expert knows everything about every place, not even anything about any place. So one's knowledge of one's whereabouts is insufficient. If one's judgment is unsound, then expert advice is of little use. In general, I have used my farm carefully. It could be said, I think, that I have improved it more than I have damaged it. My aim has been to go against its history and to repair the damage of other people. But now, a part of its damage is my own. The pond was a modest piece of work, and so the damage is not extensive. In the course of time and nature, it will heal. And yet, there is damage to my place and to me. I have carried out before my own eyes and against my intentions a part of the modern tragedy. I have made a lasting flaw in the face of the earth for no lasting good. Until that wound in the hillside, my place, is healed, there will be something impaired in my mind. My peace is damaged. I will not be able to forget it. It used to be that I could think of art as a refuge from such troubles. From the imperfections of life, one could take refuge in the perfections of art. One could read a good poem, or better yet, write one. Art was what was truly permanent, therefore what truly mattered. The rest was but a spume that plays upon the ghostly paradigm of things. I am no longer able to think that way. That is because I now live in my subject. My subject is my place in the world, and I live in my place. There is a sense in which I no longer go to work. If I live in my place, which is my subject, then I am at my work. Even when I am not working, it is my work because I cannot escape it. If I live in my subject, then writing about it cannot free me of it or get me out of my system. When I am finished writing, I can only return to what I have been writing about.
While I have been writing about it, time will have changed it. Over longer stretches of time, I will change it. Ultimately, it will be changed by what I write, inasmuch as I, who changed my subject, am changed by what I write about. If I have damaged my subject, then I have damaged my art. What aspired to be whole has met damage face to face and has come away wounded. And so it loses interest both in the anesthetic and in the purely aesthetic. It accepts the clarification of pain and concerns itself with healing. It cultivates the scar that is the course of time and nature over damage, the landmark and the mind mark that is the notation of a limit.
To lose the scar of knowledge, it is to renew the wound. An art that heals and protects its subject. It is a geography of scars.
You never know what is enough unless you know what is more than enough.
I used to think of Blake's sentence as a justification for youthful excess. But now I know it describes the peculiar condemnation of our species. When the road of excess has reached the palace of wisdom, it is a healed wound, a long scar.
Culture preserves the map and the records of past journeys so that no generation will permanently destroy the root. The more local and settled the culture, the better it stays put, the less the damage. Blake gives the just proportion of control in another proverb. No bird soars too high if he soars with his own wings. Only when our acts are empowered with more than bodily strength do we need to think of limits.
It was no thought or word that called culture into being, but a tool or a weapon. After the stone axe, we needed song and story to remember innocence, to record effect, and so to describe the limits, to say what can be done without damage.
The use of only our bodies for work or love or pleasure, or even for combat, sets us free in the wilderness, and we exult.
But a man with a machine and inadequate culture, such as I was when I made my pond, is a pestilence. He shakes more than he can hold.
Sometimes the need for comfort is so great that it cannot be expressed in words. This is the moment when the human being weeps or shouts or is silent in a despair so deep it seems bottomless. We humans gather in communities of people who will be present with us through unspeakable sorrow. We gather with people who will lend us a little of their strength or their courage or their persistence, and the time will come when each of us has sorrow to bear. The time will come when each of us has strength to share. Vulnerability is what allows us to admit we're hurting or forlorn. Vulnerability is what opens us up to authentic relationships with people who are willing to give us a little grace. One of the times when we most need the comfort of community is when we've made a mistake, like the farmer in Wendell Berry's poem. Damage. The mistake injured the land he was trying so hard to protect, and so damaged him. Have you ever tried to do a good thing and it backfired? It happens to everyone. The thing about mistakes that cause damage, we don't usually get a do-over. Sometimes the damage cannot be fixed. With the best of intentions, we can cause injury. The healing begins for ourselves and others when we can admit the mistake without being defensive, without being fragile, without placing ourselves at the center of what happened. So words of comfort are something we offer to anyone who may need them, including ourselves. It's amazing how love happens when we're willing to lead with vulnerability, to lean into those vulnerable moments, to open the heart to compassion every time it's needed, and to everyone who needs it, including ourselves.
After year, day by day, tending the nest till you fly away, watching you grow with a promise true, I'll be there for you. But time it gives no quarter, it passes no one by. Sometimes the news just ain't so good, and you look up to the sky. Now I heard that dreadful word, it spells out pain and fear. Before we go far down that road, there's something you should hear. Sit down still and close your eyes. That's all you have to do. You can hear me singing this lullaby for you. You can hear me singing this lullaby for you. I seem far away, but still right here. Just think of me and I appear. When howling winds and biting rains pour in from everywhere, count on me, I guarantee you, when you need me, I'll be there. Sit down still and close your eyes. That's all you have to do. You can hear me singing this lullaby for you. Anywhere and anytime, it'll be us two. With all my heart I'm singing this lullaby, lullaby for you.
The grace that is the health of creatures can only be held in common. In healing, the scattered members come together. In health, the flesh is graced. The holy enters the world. The task of healing is to respect oneself as a creature, no more, no less. A creature is not a creator and cannot be. There is only one creation, and we are its members. To be creative is only to have health, to keep oneself fully alive in the creation, to keep the creation fully alive in oneself, to see the creation anew, to welcome one's part in it anew. The most creative works are all strategy of this health. Work of pride by self-called creators, with the premium on originality, reduces the creation to novelty, the faint surprise of mind incapable of wonder. Pursuing originality, the would-be creator works alone. In loneliness, one assumes a responsibility for oneself that one cannot fulfill. Novelty is a kind of loneliness.
There is the bad work of pride. There is also the bad work of despair, done poorly out of the failure of hope or vision. Despair is the too little of responsibility, and pride is the too much. The shoddy work of despair, the pointless work of pride equally betray creation. They are wastes of time. For despair, there is no forgiveness, and for pride, none. Who in loneliness can forgive?
Good work finds the way between pride and despair. It graces with health. It heals with grace. It preserves the given so that it remains a gift. By it, we lose loneliness. We clasp the hands of those who go before us and the hands of those who come after us. We enter the little circle of each other's arms and the larger circle of lovers whose hands are joined in a dance, and the larger circle of all creatures passing in and out of life, who move also in a dance to a music so subtle and fast that no one hears it except in fragments. And by it
we enter solitude, in which we also lose loneliness.
Only discord can come of the attempt to share solitude.
True solitude is found in the wild places, where one is without human obligation. One's inner voices become audible. One hears the attraction of one's most intimate sources. In consequences, one responds more clearly to other lives. The more coherent one becomes within oneself as a creature, the more fully one enters into the communion of all creatures. One returns from solitude laden with the gifts of circumstance.
And there is no escaping that return. From the order of nature, we return to the order and disorder of humanity. From the larger circle, we must go back to the smaller within the larger, and dependent on it.
One enters the larger circle by willingness to be a creature, the smaller by choosing to be a human. And having returned from the woods, we remember with regrets its restfulness. For all creatures, there are in place, hence at rest. In their most strenuous striving, sleeping and waking, dead and living, they are at rest.
In the circle of the human, we are weary with striving and are without rest.
sin-sick soul. Sometimes I feel discouraged, and I think my work's in vain. But then the Holy Spirit revives my soul again. There is a balm in Gilead to make the wounded whole. There is a balm in Gilead to heal the sin-sick soul. There is a balm in Gilead to make the wounded whole. There is a balm in Gilead to heal the sin-sick soul.
Order is the only possibility of rest. The made order must seek the given order and find its place in it. The field must remember the forest, the town must remember the field, so that the wheel of life will turn and the dying be met by the newborn. The scattered members must be brought together. Desire will always outreach the possible, but to fulfill the possible is to enlarge it. The possible fulfilled and timely in the world, eternal in the mind. Seeing the work that must be done, who can help wanting to be the one to do it? But one is afraid that there will be no rest until the work is finished and the house is in order, the farm is in order, the town is in order, and all loved ones are well. But it is pride that lies awake in the night with its desire and its grief. To work at this work alone is to fail. There is no help for it. Loneliness is its failure. It is despair that sees the work failing in one's own failure. This despair is the awkwardness, pride of all.
There is finally the pride of thinking oneself without teachers. The teachers are everywhere. What is wanted is a learner. In ignorance is hope. If we had known the difficulty, we would not have learned even so little. Rely on ignorance. It is ignorance that teachers will come to. They are waiting, as they always have, beyond the edge of the light.
The teachings of unsuspected teachers belong to the task and are its hope. The love and the work of friends and lovers belong to the task and are its health. Rest and rejoicing belong to the task and are its grace. Let tomorrow come tomorrow. Not by your will is the house carried through the night. Order is the only possibility of rest.
Wendell Berry's poem, Healing, speaks to me deeply with the idea that harm can arise both from a sense of responsibility that is either too small or too great. When a sense of responsibility is too small, it's like saying, I can do nothing to help, nothing I do matters. That absence of agency, that powerlessness, leads to despair. Hope comes from saying, I may not be able to do everything by myself, but I can do something. With a sense of agency comes a sense of possibility, of hope. And we human beings need hope. We need hope to be resilient, to be brave, to carry on. And when a sense of responsibility is too great, it's a false pride. It's like saying, success depends entirely on me. No one else has anything worthwhile to contribute. Not only are these ideas false, they can also disempower others who also would like to do something that matters. We human beings need purpose to bring meaning to our lives. We need the sense of agency that comes with saying, I can do something that matters, if we are to feel purpose and a reason for hope. So, the members of this loving religious community have the opportunity to minimize damage and promote healing by being vulnerable, by being able to say, I want to help, and also to say, I need help. To encourage one another. The root of the word encourage is the Latin word cur, meaning heart. To encourage one another is to give heart to one another, simply to open the heart, to be vulnerable, to practice compassion, to offer each other a little grace. Now let's sing our closing hymn together, and in so doing, may we bring into being the way we aspire to be together, a community of healing grace. The hymn is number 205, Amazing Grace. Please rise and wear a mask.
Tis
Our closing words are from Lucille Clifton's Blessing the Boats. May the tide, and yes, please sit as you are comfortable. May the tide that is entering even now the lip of your understanding carry you out beyond the face of fear. May you kiss the wind, then turn from it, certain it will love your back. May you open your eyes to the water, water waving forever, and may you, in your innocence, sail through this to that.
Now we extinguish this chalice, but not the light of truth, the warmth of community, or the fire of commitment. These we carry in our hearts and out into all the world.